In the heart of the flourishing kingdom of Umonzeli, two twin sisters, Adenna and Edenna, were born into a home of love, wisdom, and strong family values. Their parents raised them with a deep understanding of what it meant to be a good wife, a pillar of strength, and a source of peace in a home. When they became of age, fate led them to two best friends, Dumadu and Kukuku, who were hardworking but struggling men with barely anything to their names. Love was their only possession, and the twin sisters accepted it wholeheartedly. "We will stand by our husbands no matter what," Adenna assured Edenna on the night before their weddings. "Yes, my sister, we will build our homes with patience and love," Edenna replied with confidence. Their marriages were full of struggles at the beginning. At a point in time, things became very tough for both families, but the twin sisters worked tirelessly beside their husbands. They encouraged them, invested in their dreams, and managed the little they had with wisdom. Just as they were adjusting to their difficult reality, Adenna and Edenna each gave birth to a child. The babies brought joy, but joy alone could not fill empty stomachs. A few years later, the twin sisters were pregnant again. They gave birth successfully and brought joy to their homes, but their happiness could only last for a little while. With two children each and no steady income, the situation worsened. Hunger stared at them, and at night they wept in silence, afraid to let their husbands see their pain. Desperate to feed their children, Adenna and Edenna started going to their parents' home in search of food. Their kind and loving parents never hesitated giving them enough food items that can take care of every member of their families. On the other hand, Dumadu and Kukuku were ashamed, but they still had to eat the food brought from their in-laws' home. They felt so humiliated, but pride doesn't take away hunger, only food does. Through years of relentless effort and resilience, their husbands became wealthy men, prosperous traders whose names commanded respect across the land. The sisters were proud, believing their sacrifices had led to a happy and fulfilling marriage. But they had no idea that their lives were about to be changed forever. The moment wealth entered the lives of Dumadu and Kukuku, their love for their wives began to wither like a neglected flame. Their humble beginnings seemed like distant memories, and the sacrifices of Edenna and Adenna became invisible to them. Indeed, their wealth came with destruction. Dumadu and Kukuku, once devoted husbands, became lost in their riches. They began spending nights away from home, feasting in the company of younger and seductive women who only desired their wealth. Adenna and Edenna pleaded with their husbands to remember their vows, but their cries fell on deaf ears. The twins tried to talk to their husbands during the day, but they didn't listen. They tried at night, and it was just the same. It's as if the two friends knew what they were doing, but they did not. "You should be grateful you are living in luxury," Kukuku said one night when Adenna confronted him. "Stop complaining," Dumadu snapped when confronted by Edenna. "You should be happy I'm providing for you." But what was wealth without love? What was comfort without peace? The twin sisters tried everything: prayers, patience, even enduring humiliation, but the men only grew worse. One night, Adenna prepared a special meal for her husband, hoping to rekindle their bond. She set the table beautifully and waited eagerly, but Dumadu never returned that night. Instead, he spent the night in the company of women, drinking expensive palm wine and showering gifts on the women. One evening, Adenna attended the village celebration, where she saw her husband surrounded by women. The sight of it made her heart sink. Swallowing her pride, she walked up to him and said politely, "Kukuku, it's getting late. Let's go home." "Don't worry, I'll take care of myself," replied Kukuku. "You can go now if you are tired." Some of the women there burst into laughter, but Adenna didn't care about them. She turned around and walked away, holding her head high, even as her heart crumbled inside. While the other people there are enjoying themselves and having fun, Adenna was crying inside. She never knew the words she desired for her husband could bring her so much pain. Dumadu and Kukuku never saw anything wrong with their new lifestyle. They would live for days, claiming they had business trips, when in reality, they were staying in luxurious guest houses, enjoying the company of their mistresses. Their wives would wake up alone, eat alone, and sleep alone. The houses that once echoed with laughter were now filled with painful silence. Dumadu and Kukuku only returned home when they needed something. Each time their wives complained, they would say, "You should be grateful. You are married to a successful man who can provide all your needs." Those words couldn't comfort the lonely wives. They wished the success in their husbands' businesses could be reflected in their marriages. Instead of the business success enjoyed by their husband to bring joy to the twins, it brought them so much pain and grief. What an irony. In the Umonzeli kingdom, there is a particular day in a year set aside to celebrate all the children in that village. Children of Umonzeli come from far and near to celebrate the festival, and so they always looked forward to the great event. They usually gather at the village square to watch the different events lined up for the festival. They always enjoy the cultural dance more than any other event. That day, Dumadu and Kukuku's children were set for the feast, but their fathers were nowhere to be found. It was Adenna and Edenna who took the children to the village square on that day. While other children were playing and eating with their parents, Dumadu and Kukuku's children sat in a corner, looking so sad. As the feast was going on, Adenna and Edenna thought Kukuku and Dumadu would join them, but they never showed up. They were so sad, but there was nothing they could do about it. Unknowingly to the twins, as the festival was going on, Dumadu and Kukuku were in a faraway village, drinking palm wine in the company of strange women. When they returned the following morning, they said they were away for a very important business trip. They never knew that nothing should be more important to a man than his family. One stormy night, Adenna sat alone, staring at the empty space beside her on her bed. Her husband was out again, probably in the arms of another woman. She clutched her chest as she felt another wave of sadness and loneliness consume her. She was awake for most part of the night. The next morning, Adenna came visiting, and her sister told her what happened the previous night. "Sister, don't let this destroy you," Adenna said to Adenna. "We still have ourselves. We still have our children. I know with time our husbands will come back to their sense again." But Adenna shook her head. I gave everything to him, Adenna, my love, my strength, my loyalty, and now I have nothing left. She sobbed uncontrollably. It was the beginning of her slow descent into depression. Gradually, Adenna's heart grew heavy with sorrow. The betrayal had become unbearable. Why should I keep fighting for a man who no longer loves me? She whispered. She didn't only lose faith in herself, but also in everything around her. She withdrew from the world, spending days locked in her room, crying herself to sleep every night. She stopped eating, stopped hoping, and eventually stopped living. Adenna tried her best to get her twin sister out of depression, but her effort yielded no good result. Adenna continued falling into depression as time goes by. Adenna, on the other hand, refused to let grief consume her. I will not die because of a man, she declared. I will live. I will laugh. I will find joy in anything that pleases me. She surrounded herself with positive-minded women, took up new interests, and focused on the love of her children. While Adenna drowned in despair, Adenna thrived despite the pain. But soon, tragedy struck. One fateful evening, Adenna knocked on her sister's door, but there was no response. She pushed the door open, and she was surprised at what she saw. Adenna lay lifeless on the floor, her face pale, her eyes shut forever. No! Adenna screamed, tears streaming down her eyes. Adenna's weeping shook the entire village. The news spread like wildfire. The once vibrant, loving Adenna had died, not from sickness, not from war, but from a broken heart. Kukuku was devastated. He had never imagined his action would lead to such an ugly situation. For the first time, he felt true guilt, but it was too late. Kukuku tried to act as though life would continue as normal, but he couldn't cheat nature. The death of his good wife affected him so much that he couldn't concentrate on his business. His world began to crumble. One by one, his business failed. His so-called friends deserted him, and soon he found himself alone in the mansion that once overflowed with laughter. One night, he was attacked by his debt collectors. They gave him severe warning to pay up his debt as soon as possible. Unfortunately, Kukuku never saw the next day. He slept that night but never woke up the following morning. By that time, Dumadu's word had started dwindling too. His heart became very heavy with the passing of his childhood friend. He went to the riverside and sat quietly while thinking about his past. Suddenly, he got up to his feet and said with his eyes full of tears, I will go back to my wife. She is the only friend I have now. The next morning, Adenna was sitting outside their home when she saw Dumadu approaching. He appeared so weak and full of regret. Adenna was surprised to see Dumadu in that mood. When he got to where she sat, he fell to his knees and said in a sorrowful tone, Adenna, I know I have wronged you. I do not deserve your forgiveness, but I beg for it. I was lost, but now I am back home. Please find a place in your heart to forgive me. Tears filled Adenna's eyes. She had every reason to reject him, to let him suffer as he had made her suffer. But she was not like him. She was a very good woman. I have forgiven you long ago, she said softly. But forgiveness does not erase the past. It is up to you to change completely for good. That night, Dumadu wept like a child. For the first time, He saw the true meaning of love, not in riches, not in pleasure, but in sacrifice and forgiveness. From that day he became a changed man. He rebuilt his home, not with wealth, but with love, and never again did he cause Adenna pain. One cloudy evening, as the sun bowed behind the hills of Umonzeli, Nkidodo, a mysterious man known for interpreting destinies and balancing the scales of justice and injustice through spiritual means, arrived at the entrance of the village. He was dressed in red and black, while holding his staff so firm. His arrival sent chills through the villagers. No one was bold enough to summon Nkidodo. He comes only when the gods sent him. He walked directly to the palace and demanded to speak with the king. The ghosts are restless, he announced. A woman's spirit cries from the underworld. She died with pain in her heart. She was silenced, but her tears have soaked the ground beneath our feet, and now justice must be done. Some of the elders trembled, while others became so scared. The king of Umonzeli leaned forward. What must be done, Nkidodo? He asked. The two men, Dumadu and Kukuku, defy the covenant of marriage. One is already in the land of the spirits, and the other must face the judgment of the ancestors. But Kukuku is dead, said the king. Nkidodo's eyes gleamed. Yes, but justice must prevail. That night, Nkidodo went to the secret forest of Umonzeli. There, under the moonlight, he began to chant. The drums beat themselves, and the leaves danced. As the chants grew louder, the flames in the forest danced with supernatural fury. Suddenly, a voice emerged from the smoke. It was the voice of Adenna. I forgive him completely, but let my story teach every man to treasure what they have before it becomes a memory. Let the girls of Umonzeli be taught that love is powerful, but self-worth is stronger. The next morning, every household in Umonzeli gathered in silence at the king's palace. The king raised his staff and declared, let this day be the day of remembrance for every woman whose love was betrayed in Umonzeli. From that day, the village celebrated a great festival held once in a year to honor the sacrifices of good women, beginning with Adenna. As the village celebrated Adenna, Adenna couldn't forget what happened to her twin sister. She knew a lot of women would be going through similar conditions. For that reason, she gathered the women of Umonzeli one evening and said to them, Sisters, some of us are crying in silence, and I have come to tell you, we have cried enough. Let us now rise above every limitation. Let us build something that can never be taken away by any man. Let us become women of wisdom, wealth, and great personality. And so, an organization of women who supported each other in Umonzeli was born. They helped each other to support the less privileged among them. They helped widows, invested in trade, supported education, and skill building. They became one big family who farmed together with so much joy, sewed beautiful clothes with so much excitement, carved soap, made herbs, and sold goods to neighboring villages. Soon, Adenna became one of the wealthiest women in that region, not just in money, but in honor, wisdom, and legacy. Years later, during their annual festival, the king of Umonzeli gave Adenna a very beautiful award. She stood before the crowd, dressed in a beautiful outfit and coral beads, holding her head so high. My husband broke me, she said. I bent, but I was not shattered, and now I stand stronger than ever. Let every woman know this. Your value is not tied to any man, but to your purpose. The choice to survive can be made only by you. The villagers celebrated Adenna in a grand style. Drums were rolled out. Women were full of excitement. Young girls were so happy. Everyone was proud of Adenna. And so from the ashes of betrayal, Adenna rose into glory. Her story and her sister's story became legend, carved into the heart of Umonzeli and carried across generations. The story of the twin sisters became a lesson to all. It taught everyone that a good woman's love is always priceless and it shouldn't be taken for granted. It also taught the villagers that true strength is choosing joy, even in pain. The story also taught that redemption, which begins with true repentance, is possible. From the story, people also learned that wealth without wisdom leads to nothing but destruction. For more interesting stories, kindly subscribe to this channel. Do well to like, share and comment on our videos.